Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is the Reverend Christine Dance, and it is my honor and privilege to serve as the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix. We welcome you here for our online worship. And for those of you who are just joining us today, a very special welcome from wherever you are joining us from. We had scheduled to have a service called the Question Box this morning. It was going to be a lighthearted and fun service. We will do that another time. This Sunday, we need to be together to lament and to contemplate and to try to make meaning and understanding of the devastating events that have happened this week in Minneapolis and around the country. We will be incorporating a variety of music from musicians of color to accompany our service. We'll also be doing a ritual that involves a bowl or cup of water and some salt. So go ahead and get it now. You'll prefer it that you did. You just go ahead. You can get up while I'm talking. It's all right. A bowl or a cup of water and some salt. We are glad you are here, and we are glad that we are a community for our time where we can do this work together. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix strives to be a spiritual community for our time, focused on diverse theological perspectives, radical inclusion, and knowing that issues of justice and equity shape absolutely everything that we do. With a special awareness for those who have been historically marginalized, we welcome all of every race, class, ethnicity, immigration status, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious background, mental and physical ability or disability. We welcome your whole self, your family into our worship as we build a community of kindness and caring, of courage, and of hope. Our opening words this morning are from the artist Marvin Gaye, who will be featured a little bit later. Mother, mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Picket lines and picket signs, don't punish me with brutality. Come on and talk to me so you can see me. See what's going on. What's going on? Tell me what's going on. I invite you to grab a chalice or a candle from your home as we recite our covenant and light our chalice. My wife Karen will be lighting our chalice this morning. Share with me. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to share our strength in fellowship. Thus do we covenant. I want to take a moment and introduce our worship team with us here today. We have our director of music, that's Benji Messer. Our director of children's ministries, Katie Resendez. And you heard earlier our pianist, Mary Coda. Yes, Mary. Behind the scenes, we have our AV team, Justin Walgren and Carol Benwell. Brad Chapman is our moderator today. And now I am glad to introduce our worship associate, Gary Ezell.
For our online worship this morning, good morning. We encourage you to find the chat symbol on your screen and engage with information and links from our moderator.
Gary, you need to turn your video on.
Oh, I didn't know it was off. Thank you. Presto changeo, now I'm here. Good morning. For our online worship this morning, we encourage you to find the chat symbol on your screen and engage with information and links from our moderator. As always, we invite you to check in on social media with the hashtag UUAnywhere. And we encourage you to join us after service for our online coffee hour. I have a few announcements about the life of our community. We have lots of weekly activities, tons of community programming for kids and adults. All of our program links and passwords are in our weekly e-newsletter, Compass. You can sign up for Compass on our website, phoenixuu.org. Kids Camp starts tomorrow. Kids Camp has been one of the ministries of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix for 47 years, reaching hundreds of kids inside and outside the congregation with our UU values. Our camp staff and counselors have pivoted very quickly to provide an online kids camp, which is being offered free of charge, asking for donations only. If you would like to support Kids Camp, the link is in the chat, or you can go to UUCP's Facebook page. Are you a graduate? We are honoring those who are graduating or making academic transitions from kindergarten to graduate school. Please notify Reverend Christine by emailing minister@phoenixuu.org. Our annual meeting will be after service on Sunday, June 14th. We will discuss the business of our congregation and vote on our budget and our next leaders. There is an informational session on our budget after coffee hour today at 12:30. The link is in Compass. Please come and join us. Finally, there wouldn't be a budget if it weren't for your generosity. All of us collectively contribute to supporting the mission and vision of this congregation as we explore what it means to be a religious community for our time. We invite you to give to our offering anytime during the service. You can donate by the text information in the chat, by website, or send an old-fashioned check. We are so grateful for your generosity.
Good morning, everyone. This song comes from the Poor People's Campaign. I'll sing, my line is, somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on, and you sing back with me, far too long. It's gone on far too long. It's gone on far too long. Somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. And then all together we sing, and we won't be silent anymore. Check it out, it goes. Somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Oh, well, it's gone on far too long. It's gone on far too long. You know that somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. And then all together, and we won't be silent anymore. Everybody got that? Okay, here we go. Well, somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on far too long. You know that it's gone on far too long. Oh, well, somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Don't you know somebody's hurting my neighbor, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on far too long. You know that it's gone on far too long. Well, somebody's hurting my neighbor, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. One more time, our brothers. You know that somebody's hurting our brothers, and it's gone on far too long. Well, it's gone on far too long. You know that it's gone on far too long. Well, somebody's hurting our brothers, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Oh, well, we won't be silent anymore. One more time with me. No, we won't be silent anymore. Thanks all.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie Resendez, and I'm the Director of Children's Ministry here at UUC Phoenix. I've been crying this morning, and I want you to invite you to cry with me. This week is hard. COVID has been hard. And the years and years of watching people get killed at the hands of law enforcement has been so hard. And this week, we can't take it anymore. And we aren't taking it anymore. And our anger and our tears and our feet and our calls and our shouts and our hands have stopped being complacent. And that is so good. And it is so hard. And it is giving our pain a place to not just live, but a way to be active. Kiddos, we need you, and we need each other. And we do need to remember who we are as Unitarian Universalists. And those of you who are watching who are not UU, remember what love feels like and what community feels like. And even if you are alone today, and even if this week has been your loneliest, know that everyone watching with you right now is with you. We are with you. We need to be community. We need to wear our yellow Side with Love shirts. We need to wear goldenrods so we can see each other, your chalice pendants, anything you have that says, I am here in this world, promoting love, promoting our interconnectedness, because that's what we need. And yes, that might bring anger, and that might be protest, and that might bring pain, and that might bring destruction. And it still brings love. We are figuring out how to move through this as a community, because if we lose our community, then there is no point. I don't know if we need pictures of Black boys who have been hurt, or if we need to commodify people's bodies and show how sad we are and show pity. I don't know if that helps. I know that we need to talk to our friends. We need to talk to each other about what this is like. We need to talk to each other about what we're going to do. And the other thing that we need, I know, and I learned just a few minutes ago, I saw a video of police officers in Flint, Michigan. It was of protesters. And there were the marchers and there were the police in their gear. And the marchers started screaming, "March with us, stand with us, march with us." And I've been at protests in Phoenix in that moment when we're on one side of a barricade and we say, "Hey, come on over here." And in fact, 5 years ago this week, I stood on one side of the street while a line of law enforcement stood in the middle, and on the other side were men with guns facing our local mosque. And we said to the police officers, "Remember, you are with us." But they didn't move, and they stood there and held the middle ground. But the police in Flint, Michigan didn't do that. They joined the marchers. They listened and they joined the protesters and they marched with them. And that is amazing and that is beautiful. But this is not a celebration of what the police officers chose to do. This is a call to all of us. We need to be those protesters. We need to be such a beautiful, wonderful, open, loving community that when we say, "Come stand with us, come march with us," you know what is right. Do what is right, and we will hold you. We need to be those protesters. If you lose your job, if you are terrified, we will hold you. You have a community who will stand with you when you stand up for what is right. Think about every single kid in our congregation who, when they see something going wrong, says, "That's not right, that's not okay," and calls us out on it as adults. We need to be like them. We need to be saying, "Come march with us. There is space for your anger. There is space for your action. There is space for your fear. And there is space for your tears. Come march with us. Come march with us." Please remember, my community, my loves, that you are powerful and we are powerful. And we are love, and you are so, so loved. This next song brings us images from Flint, Michigan, from the ongoing crisis. The images are from many places, but it was originally inspired by the water crisis. And the video is hard to watch, and it's okay if you can't watch it, but it's a song you know. So hold yourself and sing this song with us. You are so loved.
Thank you, Katie, and for your words and your ministry to our whole community. It is the time when we share the joys and sorrows of our community. Being together, it is good to share, to support each other, and to connect. We will be addressing the specific sorrows of the murders and the protests just after the joys and sorrows part here. So we're going to change joys and sorrows just a little bit. You can just send me your joys or sorrows or what you want the community to know all at the same time. Just write it in the chat and send it to panelists. If you could put your name on the front, that would be helpful. And if you want it to be private only to me and not to be shared aloud, please put the word private at the beginning. I won't say it out loud, but I will hold it in my heart. So in addition to everything else that is going on, I also need to acknowledge the great sorrow in the world that this week we did surpass the 100,000 deaths due to COVID-19. In the political conversations about masks and stay-at-home orders and tweets, we can lose sight that it is 100,000 individuals, each with people who loved them, many who died alone, and many families who can't get the funeral they desire. May we collectively mourn these precious souls and remain committed to not have the number rise to 200,000. For joys and sorrows this morning, the Lifshitz family says, kids camp, it is welcomed in our house. Campers, leadership trainee, and counselor alike. Bill and Linda Kessler are celebrating their wedding anniversary today. They were married in 1987. Congratulations, happy anniversary, you two. And Victoria Meyer says, thanks to my community who sent love while my mom was hospitalized. She is out and healing. And Marshall Valentine is sending love to all of Phoenix and says that they love us so much and a true joy to be here with you. We're so glad you can be here with us, Marshall. A tiny joy from Sarah Montgomery, and there is no such thing as a tiny joy these days, Sarah. 3-year-old Hannah and I baked cinnamon date sticky buns, and Hannah calls them cinnamon rolls this morning, and our home smells like a Cinnabon. Kathy Kim says, I'm very worried about my 93-year-old sister in Virginia who tested positive for COVID on Tuesday. Shelley Stevenson says, a bright spot in the week was participating in the first UU General Assembly virtual choir rehearsal led by our own Benji Messer. And I got to do it too, and I'm telling you all, it was the most fun I have ever had on Zoom. And I just wish you could have seen the 150 other choir members start skeptical and end madly in love with our choir director. It was so much fun to see. Ann Lackey says, I am safe, but it was disconcerting to watch the protesters. We will be talking about that. Karen Kurtz celebrated her 63rd birthday on Friday. Very grateful for my life, my friends, my work, and especially my wonderful daughter. Thank you all for your prayers and good wishes. And happy birthday, Karen. Diane Targovnik says both grandparents are out of the hospital. Diane's mom was in for a month and John's father in for a night. That's so scary. Colin, Jan, and Uli and David are going to visit a rescued Great Dane this afternoon for a possible adoption. And Tanya Hamilton says, sharing the joy of watching my son work through the paperwork of his first job as a kids camp counselor. So grateful that he's welcome in this special community and will have this as his first work experience in service to others. And John Reed Maffeo says, a joy. My daughter Selena is having a good recovery from her coronavirus infection. We're glad to hear that, John Reed. Amy Miskell says, we are dealing with a broken AC. It is first world problems, I know, but if you are able to take care of a dog or two, let us know. We'll probably be going to a hotel. Susan Morris says, a joy that she is closing her tutoring business at the end of June. I am still forever a teacher, but relieved to stop pretending to be a business person as well. I guess you could call this retirement, but I know that I will not be at home eating bonbons. We know that too, Susan, and congratulations on a wonderful career. Kim St. Clair says, a sorrow that my father's health continues to be precarious with no specific diagnosis. We appreciate the sending of healing light. Seisha Napa says, a big thank you to our UUCP family who assisted in gathering supplies for my family back home on the Navajo Nation. My sister and I were tackling a long list of supplies requested on our own. Our family's elders have been hit hard by COVID-19. My mother and her sisters have been caring for our elders by cooking and delivering food, homemade masks, paper and cleaning products and PPE when they can find them. I heard from my mom, Norma Khan, and she reported that she was already cooking stews and baking breads. Kits of disposable gloves, hand sanitizers, and paper products were delivered to the grandmas, the shepherders, and other community members. Super special thank you to Reverend Christine and Karen who drove the truck to Holbrook to hand off the items to my mother. No way our little Prius could have handled all of the supplies. What is happening to my family is a microcosm of what is going on across the Navajo Nation and Indian country during this pandemic. Walk in beauty, Seisha Napa and family. And I want to let you know that we're going to be working with Seisha and her family on how we can help more in the Navajo Nation. The needs are so great. And the fact that we need to drive supplies up from Phoenix is the way to deal with it is a travesty on its own. So we will be sending out more information on how we can coordinate that work. Sarah Moore says, I will be bringing home my quarantine puppy at the end of June. Ed and Bonnie say they are celebrating 13 years together tomorrow. And Rose Pasco says, a joy that my father, who was laid off from his 23-year job due to COVID, had a job interview. And Sylvia Sharma wants to share that her niece graduated from UC Vet School in equine medicine, and another niece graduated from dental school. That's very exciting. Tomorrow, we've got something and my mouse just stopped working. And that's not going to be helpful. There we go, technology, right? Christy Bubble says, a joy tomorrow. We celebrate the 14th anniversary of our twins coming home healthy from the NICU. How fabulous. And John Williamson shares a joy that my daughter, Marianne, got a new job. Oh, so much to hold. So much to hold. So I invite you to get your bowl or cup of water now and your salt. If you didn't get it before, go ahead and get that. We are going to add to our sorrows, and we're going to do a ritual of lamentation. This is a concept from the Reverend Carol Sissel, and it was adapted by the Reverend Erica Hewitt. This has been a week of outrage and lamentation. The deep generational trauma of white supremacy in our country made itself known yet again when George Floyd died under Minneapolis police officers' knee. This was a 21st century lynching. It was not an isolated act of white violence. It's been what's been happening to Black and brown people, and especially to Black men for centuries, for millennia. Will you take a breath with me? And will you please use the chat to write the name of one of the many Black people who have been killed through violence at the hands of white people. If you identify as white, our grief must also be a reckoning. This violence is at the heart of our country's origin story. Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz points out, the founding of a state based on the ideology of white supremacy, the widespread practice of African slavery, and a policy of genocide and land theft. We will not ignore George Floyd's death. or its terrible context. We have a metastatic racism, says Ibram Kendi, and it is literally killing America. So along with your chalice, have your bowl of water and some salt. Use your hand to stir some salt into the water, to submerge your fingers into it. As we have promised to put ourselves into the holy work of anti-racism, I even invite you to taste the salty water as a reminder of the grief and trauma inflicted on Black and brown bodies in this country, and the legacy of that pain that is ours to help both dismantle and heal. I will be saying the names aloud in the chat. I invite you to say them aloud as well. And with each one, dip your fingers in the salt. Antonio Arce, Tamar Rice, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Philando Castile, George Floyd, Eric Garner, Walter Scott, Keith Childs, Jamar Clark, Emmett Till, Renisha McBride, Sandra Bland, Joseph Shotgun Williams of the Hot 8 Brass Band, Maud Arbery, Alton Sterling, Martin Luther King Jr., Breonna Taylor, Jonathan Farrell, Dion Johnson here in Phoenix, Freddie Gray, Tatiana Jefferson, Gerard Stewart, L'Oreal Tessing, Terrence Crutcher, Betty Jones, Yvonne Smallwood, Rakia Boyd, Tony McDade, say those names with grief and with responsibility. Say the names on your heart or write them down. Our tears are not enough. Our anger isn't even enough. But our lamentation and rage drive us to act, to hold vigil, to make phone calls, to offer financial support, to interrupt harmful conversations, and to initiate uncomfortable conversations with those who would rather look away. George Floyd, Malcolm X, Mohammed Mahayam in Phoenix. May these tears be a beginning, but may we keep going. The music that follows is a version of Janelle Monáe's 2015 protest song called Hell Ya Tom About. The title is a contraction of talking about, and thus the title asks, what the hell are you talking about? The song lists so many various Black people who have died as a result of encounters with law enforcement or racial violence, and it implores us to hear the names of the dead. This song goes on for 5 minutes. It may make you feel uncomfortable. You may find that the anger makes you uncomfortable and you want it to stop. Don't stop. I want you to breathe into that discomfort. Think about where the anger comes from. I want you to hear it and feel this anger and understand it as lifetimes and generations of righteous anger.
Miriam Carey, say your name. his name. Tommy Yancey, say his name. Tommy Yancey, say his name. Tommy Yancey, say his name. Jordan Baker, say his name. Jordan Baker, say his name. Jordan Baker, say his name. Say his name, won't you say his name? I'ma Diallo, say his name. I'ma do Diallo, say his name. I'ma do Diallo, say his name. I'ma do Diallo, say his name. Say his name, 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 won't you say his name?
This video is homage to what Janelle Monáe and Wonderland already started with that song, The Hell You Talking About. So this red across our eyes symbolizes that the fact that we see the bloodshed going on in this country and it won't be overlooked. So we need to let the world know, and you need to know, that silence is the enemy and sound is the weapon.
The focus of today's service has changed. We are not asking questions today in the same way that we expected, but still, questions we have. We've been asking these questions as long as I've been alive, and longer than that. From my youth, these questions. How many years must some people exist before they're allowed to be free? How many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? How many ears must one person have before he can hear people cry? And how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The winds are blowing again. The wind will always be blowing. The questions will not change, but our answers can change. Our answers must change. I can acknowledge not just my privilege, but also my prejudices, which I have never fully dispelled, despite my intentions and efforts. Some I will carry to my grave. Let them be buried with me. My children, I believe and I hope, carry lighter burdens. Hope we must have, and commitment. The wind will always be blowing, but let the air be cleaner.
Okay, I want you to do something. I want you to take your hand. I want you to put it over your heart. I want you to just hold it there for a second. I want you to take a few breaths. I'm not saying that what we're doing is easy. I'm saying it's necessary. Hold your heart for a moment. And keep it there as long as you need. It's been a week. I mean, let's be honest, it's been quite a few months, right? But here's the thing. The coronavirus is new. Killing Black people is not new. We can be angry, but we should not be surprised. I want to talk a little bit about what happened on Monday, because I feel like in different parts, it was a through line story. In Central Park in New York City, a Black man asked a white woman to follow the park rules. The white woman became irate and threatened to call the police, and then did call the police, saying vehemently and intentionally and over that a Black man was threatening her. Not a person, not a human, not a man. She intentionally called out that it was a Black man. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew that by identifying him as a Black man, she would be more protected and he would be penalized. By calling the police, she was setting him up for a possible incident with the police, an incident that could potentially leave him dead. She was potentially causing manslaughter by calling the police on him, just for asking her to put a leash on her dog. Cut to later that day. George Floyd, a Black man, is detained by police for a minor incident. He was totally subdued once he was in handcuffs. And yet, an officer kneeled on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Do you know how long that is? George said, "I can't breathe." And he called out for his mama. Eventually, he became unresponsive. And still, after he was unresponsive, the officers kneeled on his neck for another 2 minutes and 53 seconds. The incident killed him. 3 other officers stood by and watched, potentially kneeling as well. They did not give him CPR. We can be horrified by this, but we cannot be surprised. It is not really that different from what happened to Eric Garner, who also died from a chokehold in New York City and said, "I can't breathe." Mike Brown, who was shot while his back was turned in St. Louis. Sandra Bland, who died after a traffic stop. Philando Castile, who was killed with a 4-year-old in her car seat in the back of their car. And so many more. These incidents are not rare. What's happening is that they are now caught on tape. Now we're outraged because we can see them. Without the tapes, we came up with way too many explanations. And I want to be very clear on who we is. We, it's the white people who said we couldn't do something about it. They resisted arrest, they committed a crime, their background, whatever, the officer feared for their life. Heck, even with video, those things are said. But we have to see the humanity of George Floyd. We cannot look away while he was murdered. We cannot look away. We know that Black men are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police than white men. And getting shot by police is the leading cause of death for Black men in the United States. The same police who are called to protect and serve. So here's the thing. Today, I ain't got no energy to talk about whether white supremacy is still an issue. I do not want a discussion on whether we should use that word or not. We are beyond that. We are way beyond that. And I do not want to hear people complain about how Black people are protesting. There have been 1 million nonviolent protests. There have been 1 million ways of doing it the way that you're supposed to, and 1 million opportunities for things to change. What form of protest is exactly supposed to work? So taking a knee wasn't okay. Marching peacefully isn't okay. Working to reform the police through existing infrastructure wasn't okay. Celebrities speaking out isn't okay. All of those happened. They didn't change it. We are still in the same situation. What specifically is going to work and fit those standards that are really just white supremacy in disguise? And I'm really just tired with people being more upset about the destruction of property than they are about the destruction of human lives. This goes for Corona too, where we were too worried about the capitalistic economy than we were about losing 100,000 lives or more. If the fires of our stores is more disturbing to you than watching George Floyd's last breaths on the ground, then we need to have a conversation about our UU principles and values. We are angry, and we should be. Maya Angelou said, if you're not angry, you're either a stone or you're too sick to be angry. You should be angry. You must not be bitter. Bitterness is like cancer. It eats upon the host. It doesn't do anything to the object of its displeasure. So use that anger. Yes, write it, paint it, you dance it, you vote it, you do everything about it, you talk it. Never stop talking it. I want to take a moment to address the white folks in our congregation. First of all, please remember that this is not about us. We are angry, we are distressed, but when the anger dissipates, we get to put it down until it happens again. It is our Black siblings who are affected here, and let us never forget that. As soon as we make it about ourselves, we turn the lens away from where it should be pointed. As soon as we take the microphone, we turn it away from where it should be pointed. It is difficult, yes. And we, as white people, are used to being able to do something to make it better. We are not used to being powerless. We need to live in this discomfort. We need to disrupt white supremacy actions and talk about it immediately when we see it, in our family and in our friends. We need to be willing to step up with our cameras when we see something, and we need to hold our officials accountable. And we need to empower the people who are doing the work with our money, our time, our infrastructure, our privilege. Black-led organizations who are willing to work towards their own liberation need our support. We can put our privilege to work. And please send some love to your Black friends. But do not put them in the position where they need to comfort you, and do not ask them to teach you how you can do better. Do your own work. Read all you can. Find spaces to responsibly learn. To my Black siblings, I love you and I see you. I want to acknowledge that you are not okay. How could you be? You have seen this over and over, and every time you know it could be you or one of your family members. You live with the knowledge that any activity you undertake is inherently more dangerous just because of the color of your skin. I lament with you. I love you. I also want to create space where you can lament together. At the end of the service, I will be sharing a link for a space for Black UUs to gather and lament together. It's this afternoon at 2 p.m. And I'll share that link at the end of the service. So as this week was happening, how many of you were like me and it was like, okay, I'm getting out there. I've got my, I've got my t-shirt, I've got my stole, ready out and join a march. But wait, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And not only that, but Arizona's COVID hospitalizations have hit new highs for 3 days in a row, the last 3 days. The state is preparing for a surge at the same time that things are opening up and people are gathering to march. And we already know that brown and Black people are being affected significantly more by this virus. I want to make sure that it is very clear that you need to make the right decision for you. Deciding to stay home and protect your family from a deadly virus doesn't make you any less of an ally. It could make you more of one by not spreading the virus or overwhelming our hospital system. You are the only ones who can assess your risk and your tolerance for that risk. And I ask you to think of that very, very carefully. I know that I will be. I also want to be very clear that I will be looking for my lead to follow Black organizers and Black-led organizations in Phoenix. None of the violent protests so far this week in Phoenix have been led by credible Black organizations. I will be looking to their direction on where I and we can be most helpful. I hope you will too. And that doesn't mean that we don't do everything that we can, but we need to follow those who are making a difference. And I want to give you permission to hold your hearts carefully. I am giving you permission. You can tell them your minister said so, to turn off the TV, to not scroll through Facebook every hour, to step away and take care of yourselves. Because living through all of this takes strength and perseverance. It is a struggle that has gone on for way too long, as Benji sang. Like the virus, this is a long haul. We need to do the long haul work. We need to show up in so many ways. And we need to guard our hearts and take care of ourselves to do that. But as a country, we must change. We must acknowledge the machines and systems of racism and work to dismantle them. This country is built on the labor and death and oppression of Black bodies. We need to give notice to this system. Its time is up. We need to dismantle this machine. We are in the midst of the fire of racism. We collectively feel like we can't breathe. George Floyd said, "I can't breathe." We see and we feel the rage. We feel the pent-up frustration, the fighting for decades without change. We yearn for justice and for our whole collective liberation. At the end of the day, what unites us is love. We love our family. We love our mamas, and we all call out for them at the moment of our deaths. We are all willing to fight for our freedom. I am holding you all in my heart. I am holding our city in my heart. I am holding our country in my heart. I am holding the protesters in my heart, and I am holding those who stay home in my heart. We are united in our humanity. May our humanity guide us in the struggle and the dark days ahead. So might it be.
Thank you, Christine. Let's take inspiration from the great African-American spiritual, There Is More Love Somewhere. It asks us to keep on until we find the justice and the love that we know is possible. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. And there is justice. There is justice somewhere. There is justice somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is justice somewhere. And there is freedom. There is freedom somewhere. There is freedom somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is freedom somewhere. And there is more love. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
Thank you, Benji. After the service, we want to invite you to coffee hour. We need to be together. We will be able to meet as a large group for a minute and say hi, and then go into small breakout groups for more conversation. If you're a visitor, please feel free to join us. We are a friendly bunch. The link for the room is in the chat. You'll be able to click on it there. It will also be on the final slide. There's also a coffee hour just for our kiddos and their family, and that link will be there as well. A reminder that after coffee hour, there is still a budget review. Budgets are still happening in this. And Black UUs, there is a link for the 2 p.m. gathering posted in the chat. We also just added, thank you, Sarah Montgomery, a link to UU resources to learn more about racism, to do our own internal work. So hopefully that will be added in the chat shortly as well. So my beloveds, may you find comfort in these confusing times. And may you live with the discomfort in these times that haven't changed at all. May we live out our values in the world and pray that more lives won't be lost before we can all find liberation and justice. I leave you with the gospel singer Kedron Bryant, who shared an original song on social media. His words were, "I was just singing what's on my heart. I hope this blesses someone." Kedron is 12 years old, the same age as Tamir Rice, who was shot in Cleveland for playing with a Nerf gun. Go in peace. Go in love.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.